Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kelsey, for the introduction. I'm Stephanie Martin with Blodgett, Marsal, Perfect Fry, and BKI. I've been with Blodgett for 23 years, and in 2015, we purchased the Marsal company out of Long Island, New York, and moved it up to Vermont, where it is now. In 2017, we moved it there. I want to go over this wonderful product line and some advantages that it has over some of the competition that's in the market. So I'll be taking you through a few slides to kind of define those changes. It all began with two folks, Mary and Sal, which is where the name Marsal comes from. The year was 1969, and they started their business in the Bowery. They were an equipment company, basically walks, Chinese walks, ranges, that sort of thing, until about 1973 when they moved over to Long Island area and started making fabrication and making pizza ovens. They were contacted by a company named Sbarro's, who really took their business a little further. At that time, the Sons joined the business and it became Marsal and Sons. From the left to right, you'll see Rich and then Carl. That's Sal. Later years, that young gentleman you saw with his wife before that, that's Sal. And then Joe, the other son. So the three sons went to school for business and for engineering and one for dentistry. But they all wanted to be in the family business, and so they began to work along Sal in the business for years to come. As I mentioned, Sbarro's came to them about 15, 20 years ago, and they were really kind of starting their concept of the mass production pizza with a slice reheating. They really needed something different than what was on the market and asked Marsal if they would partner with them to make a better baking type deck oven that would fit their model a little bit better. They turned out to be fantastic partners of Marsal because after their concept was completed with them, they asked them to kindly offer it to everybody and not make it exclusive just to them, because they realized that a company that can sell to many consumers would end up being very successful through the years rather than partnering with just one company. So it was really their thought process and their genius engineering that really helped Marsal launch the pizza into the pizza industry. So what's different about Marsal than all the other players that are in the marketplace is the different burner design, and this would include everybody. As I mentioned, I'm 23 years of Blodgett girl, so I am talking about the Blodgett line. I'm talking about Baker's Pride, which is also a Blodgett, or I'm sorry, a Middleby company. American Range, Garland, all the players out there have that burner design that you see in the top left-hand corner. That's what we call the front to back burner design. If you can imagine the heat, the flame coming out of there, we just have it from a topical view. So you might imagine what the pie configuration would look like. That burner really sits below, and I'll show a view of that in a moment. But the heat would come out of there and have to resonate from side to side. Whereas our design, you can see on the right-hand side, is a ladder design or an H design. It's actually designed to go side to side, one side to the other. So the heat is coming up and it's resonating from one side to the other very easily. What is this going to mean? In the long run, your customer is going to have faster heat times, less pie manipulation in the way of turning it. Our ovens, you can really set a pie down and you can pull it up when it's done and touch it, not at all in between, unless you have one of those finicky pie turners who really want to get in there and move the pie around. You don't need to with the Marsal. And the moment that you take a pie off, you can put another one on because the heat is evenly distributed from side to side. Those little crossbars are for level loading of the heat so that it's appropriately leveled on each side and side to side from not only front to back, but side to side. Here's that little cross section. So if you imagine that burner we were just looking at is the round oval type thing that's on the bottom, the flame would come up, it would be deflected from side to side, much like a barbecue grill if you're used to what that concept looks like. The heat would start to mix in that diffusing chamber, and then right up against that diffusing chamber is a 2-inch thick Fiberment cement-based type stone aggregate that comes from a company out of Chicago called Omco that we have a wonderful relationship with. So that stone is called QHT, which stands for Quick Heat Technology. It's one of the best stones that are on the market. It could be very easily put up against meteorite. Meteorite is probably the stones that are in the market, and it also comes with a very expensive price tag. So quick heat technology is just as good. It's, if not sometimes known as better, as its friend, the meteorite, and a little less expensive, a little more cost effective to the end user in the long run. So this is the way that the heat is distributed behind the burner chamber and the burner chamber up until the cooking chamber. We're going to go over the players here. We're going to talk about them individually, but this I like this little view of it because it really takes us to some characters and what we might be expecting from each one of these. Marsal is wonderfully placed in the marketplace with 4 different products. They're very different from each other, and they would offer your end user different results based on what they're looking for. And it's been my experience since the beginning of ever working in this pizzeria industry that I'm in, is you should always follow the pizza operator's lead. They really know what they want. They're gonna have general nuances and understandings of how best to run their business. So listen to them, ask questions, and for you operators who might be out there, make sure you're talking back to us and letting us know what you need so that we can help appropriately place you in the correct oven. Let's go over these ovens a little bit more in detail. First, I want to talk about the SD series. The SD stands for standard deck. Okay, so this is what I call the comfortable slipper of the deck oven world. Right now, we're just kind of looking at the outside stainless, but know that they all have that burner design, the cross section that we looked at. They're all made like that on the bottom, so they're going to deliver that. But what happens behind that stainless might be a little bit different per oven. So this standard deck oven is made just like everybody else's on the outside, okay? It looks like the Blodgett, it looks like the Baker's Pride, the American Range, and the rest of them. And because of that, it becomes very comfortable. It's a very easy unit for people to adapt to by view because it looks like what they've been used to looking at for a very long time. Our units will provide 2 different types of doors, a 7-inch door and a 10-inch door. Now this goes back to operator preference. Many operators might look at that 7-inch door and say, lots of burns on the arm, 7 inches is not quite enough for me. Maybe I make deep dish pizza all day long or lasagnas and I want a little extra room in my cavity. Or might take a look at that 10-inch door and think that's just too much. Every time I open up the door, the heat's gonna escape. So really speak with them, find out what's gonna work best in their establishment and go there. The nice thing about the 7-inch door is it will allow you to go 3 high. I'm going to give you a picture of what 3 high looks like in a moment, but know that it is kind of tall. And when we do get some feedback about that, what we found with pizzerias is that they sometimes put a platform in front of the oven and they only use the top third oven when it's higher capacity, when they need that throughput. But certainly a great way to offer more pizza in a smaller footprint in a quicker time frame is by going 3 high. Our SD series is available in 2, 4, 6, and 8 pie configurations. So we can really kind of customize the size footprint that your customer has or what they have for output needs. So again, as I mentioned before, there's no spinning of these pies because of the burner down below. The pie is going to cook in about 6 to 7 minutes. In the pizza world, a minute is a lot. So that span is really quite big. And I want to talk about that span. It really depends on environment. Is the cheese cold? Is the dough, was it brought out early in the morning and now we're in the afternoon and it's really slacked or really proofed itself up? And so it's going to cook quicker or longer depending on what's going on in that scenario. So know that the times might even change somewhat as the day goes on, but this is really operator understood. This is really the way that the pizzerias kind of run. Know that the sweet spot for our ovens is 525 degrees. A lot of the competition will go up to 650. This really directly relates to how that stone is keeping the heat, and also the heavy insulation that we use inside these units. Okay, so these things are built to save money and built to last for a very long time. This is, as I promised, a picture of a triple stack. Now, this isn't a triple stack in a restaurant. This was in the warehouse, and this is Sean Gallagher, one of our reps from the mid-east states, but we were out in the factory and he stood next to it and he was kind of joking around going, look, you can have a quadruple stack. That's not in fact true, but I like to keep this picture to show you how tall a triple stack would be. Now notice each one has like a 2x4 in between it, so it's a little bit exaggerated, but know that a triple stack is going to be maybe a few inches less than that, and Sean is about 6 feet tall. Okay, so no surprises there. It's all defined in our spec sheets. It does seem to be something that comes up after the fact, so just make sure if you're talking with a customer or you are a customer with a triple stack that we're addressing this for you. Let's move on to the MB series. The MB stands for Marsal brick, and this has nothing to do with the front of the unit in this picture that you're looking at. That is just a symbol of how your customer or you can finish it to match your establishment if you choose so, okay? What the brick stands for is 2 inches of moisture wicking brick that lines the top and the back of this unit. So we still have that side-to-side burner. We still have that 2 inches, that Omco cement fiber-based type aggregate. And then up above that, you've got the clearance for the pies or for whatever product you're cooking. And up above that, you'd have 2 inches of moisture wicking brick and then the back lined as well. That's going to make an intense heat inside that cavity. It's going to wick all the moisture off the top of the pizza. So for instance, you're cooking very rapidly on the bottom because of the stone and the heat distribution, but now the brick on top is going to take the moisture off the top. So when we were talking about the SD, that SD is going to give a little lighter crust coloring. It's going to excel in cheese pizza. It's going to do very well with everything, but that's going to be its favorite wheelhouse. That's what you're really going to think of when you think of that oven. A couple toppings, cheese pizza, lighter on the side. This MB, because of the extra thermal load of the heat, is going to be a little darker in the coloring. And we're really thinking, I like to use the term that Pizza Hut uses, like meat lovers and veggie lovers, okay? So you're thinking heavy toppings on top of that pie. We're going to pull all that extra moisture off. We're going to cook really fast and really kind of please that type of customer. So you can see how not only do they kind of look different, you can see these doors are kind of arched and their old world kind of feel to them, where the other ones were just that comfortable slipper that I had mentioned. It was like the plain Jane deck oven. So now this is like a little jazzier. This might be the good, better. This might be the better of that world with a few more options. Okay, so this one's double stacked with itself. The bottom would also have that lined brick. The SD will allow you to put some brick in it. It's only partial of the top oven and it's only 1.5 inches thick, and it's an extra option where the MB, it comes standard. So there's a little bit of a difference there. The SD has an insulated door. This door is an air wash system. So there is 2 actual pieces of metal who are kind of gapped together to give a little bit of a buffer there between the heat. But in order to get that kind of sexy feel, that's the way those doors look. So the MBs come with an interior light switch. So that comes in very handy. Deck ovens tend to be kind of dark on the inside. So this light switch is very simply a switch behind the panel there that you or your customer can turn on and be able to illuminate the cavity. The same light switch as our DFG gas line. So it's tried and true and proven to be durable, and you can have faith in that. And so they'll be very happy with that. We're very happy with it all the time. Every time we show it off, everybody likes it. This is also available in 2, 4, 6, and 8 pie configurations, just like the one before it. Let's move on to the WF series. This stands for Wave. This is a very exciting oven. It's very much different than its predecessors that I just spoke about in the way that it's more of an artisan, specialty, hand pulled pie type of oven. You can see we've got a little bit of a close-up. You can see a little glass rectangle there. That's a viewing area, because what happens behind that window, if you will, is a live flame. So we still have the H burner, but now we have a burner that runs front to back that will show the live flame up through that window. So this is kind of theatrical front of the house feel. This pie, as I mentioned, is the artisan flatbread type pizza. So now we're talking about like a 2.5 or a 3 minute pie, whereas the MB will be about 5 minutes. 5 to 6 minutes, the SD is 6 to 7. So we're kind of speeding it up. The reason is that extra burner that we have on the side is intensifying the heat inside that cavity. So if you will, the inside of that oven has a little bit of a pitch in the ceiling. Kind of looks like this, and this might be the side that has the extra flame. Bethany's kind of defining it for us there, thank you. That live flame is going to help deliver temperatures of 800 to 1,000 degrees, whereas on the back left-hand side, we're going to be about 650, 700 degrees. So now we're at this really intense heat. We're going to be cooking that pie, as I mentioned, in 2.5 to 3 minutes. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to get a charred bubble kind of crust that an artisan type pizza might have. So much different cooking characteristics, a much different end user, much different consumer. I'm going to order a very different pie than I'm going to order from the MB that I'm going to order on the SD. So it allows your customer to be able to tailor their menu to how their customers are expecting to get pizza. This one has a little bit more attention to detail when you're cooking the pie because of the intense heat. You're going to have to turn the pie like maybe a third over that 3-minute time frame, kind of finish it off in the back corner. Some will be about 2.5 minutes, depending on the toppings. Some might be 3.5, but really we see 2.5 to 3 minutes will complete that pizza very nicely. This will compete very, very well with a wood-fired oven or a cold-fire oven without having the hassle of dragging in those utilities, if you will. There's no pesticides, there's no extra working with fire departments to get approvals for live wood cooking, etc. It's just a live flame on the side hooked up to gas, either natural or propane, and there's really no maintaining of it further than what you would a normal gas-fired appliance. One of my favorite stories with this oven is that it matches very, very well with the MB. So you can stack a wave on top of an MB, and now that pizzeria can offer 2 solutions on their menu. So if a family comes in and somebody wants, the vegetarian, or worse, they want the pineapple pizza and nobody else at the table wants the pineapple, we can really take care of them in that oven, and then we can load up another, meat pie or veggie pie on the bottom for everybody else and really satisfy everybody in one swoop. I want to show you what these burners look like and what that chamber looked like that we were trying to demo to you in our hands. Now see the H side-to-side burner, just like the MB and the SD, but then that front to back side burner would be where the live flame is. And then the cooking chamber also is brick lined on the top with that same moisture wicking brick that we talked about in the MB. So that's really going to help intensify it as well as insulate it very well. And you can see that the right side's got a little more intense. The red kind of dictates that it's a little hotter on that side than it is on the left. Now it is one cooking chamber, but because of that tipping in the middle there, you'll get about 2 different temperatures on each side. They'll blend together in the middle where that dip is. And then there's just a real live picture of it so you can kind of see it. It's better in drawing because it's a little more drastic and you can understand what it is that we're pointing out. A little bit earlier, we were talking about pie configurations. I was saying 2, 4, 6, 8. You're probably like, what does that mean visually for pies? So these are based on 18-inch pies for the 4 and the 6 configuration. We would just recommend that your customer lay it out like these. And then when we get to the 8 pie configuration, that's a large unit, and not everybody has an 8 pie configuration. Many of them will end at the 6 pie configuration. The 8 pie will be laid out a little bit like this. That's a lot going on in one area, but if your customer needs that capacity, then that's definitely the way that they should go. Last week, we got 2 orders for SD 1086. So that's an 8 pie configuration stacked with a 10-inch door standard deck oven. And both of them were rushes because, as so have it, the pizza industry right now is severely overloaded with a lot of carry out and takeout, which is great because that's their wheelhouse. It's what they're used to doing, but they are really understaffed in many places, or maybe unequipped at this moment, which is a lot what we're seeing. We're seeing that there's 2 types of pizzerias out there right now. There's the ones that have shut down in order to renovate because everything runs around the oven, and the only time for them to do that is by shutting down for a week, which means lost income. So they're choosing to do that now, or they're so busy that they're adding pieces of equipment in order to pick up the slack. And we're going to talk about some pieces that will help them out there. So in the case of the 10,866 orders that we got, it was the scenario where they needed to keep up with capacity, so they needed to expand their footprint. Our units can be ordered in a couple different fashions. They can be a flat top, a round dome, or a square dome. Flat top is the way, the standard, the general of how your customer is going to receive it, or you're going to receive it. And the round dome, a lot of people will just like that little sexy kind of a feel in the kitchen when it's front of the house. What I will caution there is that it's kind of hard to put a peel on or a to-go box, right? So think about that ahead of time. If that's, it looks pretty, but now it's become not functional. A lot of times, you know, you go to pick up a pizza and you walk into the pizzeria and boom, right there, your to-go box is right on top of the oven and you can see it right there. And sometimes you point, that's my pizza right there, right? So can't do that with that round dome, and it's quite high on that square dome. Although they're beautiful, and many times they are, you know, not needed for the purpose of holding to go on there. So the slice oven, remember I told you about the Sbarros when they came to us and said we really need high production and we need to reheat our slices. And this is where the slice oven was developed. It's available in the MB and the SD design, and you already know what those mean, so that's great. We've got an exclusive burner design that looks a lot like that side burner from the WF that I was showing. So it's one long burner that goes side to side. So we have a little less BTUs, a little less heat distribution. However, this oven front to back is only 36 inches. It's 24 by 36. So it's a lot smaller footprint than those larger versions. It was made for a lower capacity pizzeria, maybe a restaurant that wants to add pizza on the side and it's not their main concept, but they want to be able to have a nice deck oven stone pizza to be able to offer their clientele. Or maybe it's just that they just don't have the footprint or they're reheating slices. A lot of times maybe people will use this as a gluten-free alternative, off to the side of the kitchen, kind of its own spot, with its own cauliflower crust or something like that that they don't want to cross-contaminate. So certainly has a lot of possibilities. It'll hold two 18-inch pies side by side. You can see down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have that laid out for you, or multiple slices, depending on however they want to use this. But we call this the 2-pie configuration. It's known as the slice, as I said. Again, goes back to very little rotating the pies because of the quick heat technology stone that we're using, and also that side-to-side burner. We're quite proud of this unit, available in those two different versions. And then lastly, oven-wise, I want to talk about the CT. The CT stands for Countertop Series, and that's exactly what it is. It's a 30 by 30 unit that would fit very easily on top of a counter. We see this as an expansion opportunity for those pizzerias that are really at high capacity right now that need a little bit of help. They come in two different versions. So there's the CT301. The one stands for one door, but you can see behind that one door, there's two cooking shelves. So we can easily cook 16 and 18-inch pies in each one of those decks very easily. We have concepts like baseball fields that use these, so they can offer maybe a frozen dough, personal pizza for people. We've got them, pretzel concepts use them. People use them for cookies. They use them for bakery goods such as biscuits. So it really has a lot of opportunity. One of its winning selling points is in the back, there's a slide, there's a guide 1 through 5 that is basically a vent, a moisture vent, if you will. So if you are the scenario that's making the frozen pretzels, you probably want to get some of that moisture out of there to help cook up the product a little quicker. So we might open up that slide a little bit more. Whereas if you're somebody like maybe a cookie company, you might keep your moisture in. And so we would kind of slide all the way almost to the closed position. And that's a variable that's easy to adjust, and your customer can really dial it into what makes sense for them. So not a lot of people in this arena have that ability to be able to add that in a 30 by 30 footprint. So that would come standard with that unit. And then there's the CT302. 2 stands for 2 doors, which means there's 4 shelves in total. So basically it kind of looks like this unit, but maybe double stacked, okay? So certainly, you know, very inviting, very easy to use, electric, 2-8, 3-phase or single phase. I wish that we could offer it in a single standard plug, but that's not doable with the power that's behind it. So, but most of the kitchens will have that. I'm just checking my notes to make sure. If you order a single phase, the cord comes standard with it. A 3-phase, you would have to get it wired in your establishment or in their establishment. Marsal has a wonderful factory performance installation checklist for all of our gas Marsal ovens. It has a 2-year parts and a 1-year labor with a 3-year door warranty. We're excited to be able to do performance and installation checks after the units have been installed and the stones have been cured. The stones are a much easier process because of the type stone that we use. As I mentioned, the quick heat technology. You're going to cure those in just under 4 hours, and whereas some of the other units will take upwards of 6 to 8, 10 hours to cure. So it's a much less labor kind of going into it. And it's important that you know that when this performance installation check is done, that curing process has to happen ahead of time. So when the installation or the service technician comes in to take a look at that unit, that's already taken care of. That will be something that they will ask you upon making the appointment, and they will ask you before servicing the unit as well, because if a stone is not cured properly and it's heated too quickly, it's a stone that gets heated quickly and it'll explode. So it's very important. Anybody's pizza ovens with stones out there across the board will need to be cured. Stones are very porous. They pull in the moisture around them, and we need to cook them out properly. So that just make sure everybody understands that in any of our deck lines or anybody's deck line, that needs to be done like that. I read this interesting and wonderful review in Tectonics, although I've seen it in a couple of places, and it sure makes sense. As consumers, when we order a pizza, we have tolerance to wait about 30 minutes to have that pizza delivered to us. And I think Domino's really has done the best at conditioning us through the years to know you get your pizza in 30 minutes or less, right? But as consumers, when we walk into the restaurant to order face-to-face, or maybe we're calling or doing it on the app, we expect to have that pizza in 12 to 15 minutes in our hands. So it's really important for a manufacturer like Marsal to be able to offer you these solutions to give to the consumers, the people like us who are going in to get pizza. Our tolerance level is this, so our ovens need to be more robust and be able to deliver faster cook times. In some of those scenarios with those ovens, anybody else's standard deck oven might be delivering 10, 11, 12 minutes to cook, where ours is going to be around 6 or 7 minutes, and that's before we've added the extra moisture wicking brick to it. Every time you go through those series, you're taking a little bit more time off. That's faster throughput, higher capacity, more customers in, more rings in the register. Okay, so that's how Marsal is going to help deliver that difference to you and ultimately to the consumer, to the end user, to make them all happy and to make them money. We have great social media campaign. We are on Facebook and Instagram. Please go and follow us. This is a sampling of something we put out there. We wanted everybody to let us know. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? I'm a yay. There's a lot of no's out there, and it really seems to be something that spars conversation. Marsal is very happy to have a wonderful end user coupon right now. We love the fact that when we go to buy pizza, we're dropping off a coupon. So now we're giving them, the end user, you, a coupon to give back to us. It's $500 off a section. It is accumulative, so if you were to be like that rep and buy a triple stack, then we would accumulate it to $1,500 off from the unit. And we have one for the electric version as well that is $100 a section. So that CT302, that 2-door 4-shelf one I told you, that would be $200. So if you don't have a copy of that coupon, you can go to our social media page and pick that up there. Eaton has it on their social media page. There is certainly out there. It's been delivered to everybody in many different fashions, but if you want it, you can also a message here in the box and we'll send it off to you as well. That would come right off the price of your oven, whether you're a consumer or a dealer. Just go ahead and present the coupon and we can go ahead and help the end user. It's an end user coupon to save you money. So ask us about that and how we can help. That's the end of my presentation, but I am certainly available for questions and answers. If anybody'd like to chime in, I do see there's a Q&A.
Yes, Stephanie, there is a question regarding the SD model, whether or not, let's see, I'll read it here. Sorry for the reading over my glasses. Is the SD series come from the factory with the metal bottom? You have to use a pizza screen with your pizza?
Okay, so unlike Blodgett have the ability to go ahead and get that steel deck, except for our pizza ovens would come standard with a stone, but you could ask for a steel deck. Marsal is all stone deck. There are no steel deck options. So you cook directly on the stone. You do not need to use a screen or any other kind of pan with your pizza, unless you're like a deep dish or something like that and you wanted to. There are some people who like to use it because that's the way the recipe calls for. They're very comfortable cooking that way, and certainly you can, but you can cook right on the stone, and we do not have a steel deck option for Marsal. Bethany, if there's anything that you want to add to anything that I said as well, feel free to jump in, or any of the folks at Eaton.
No, thank you. I think you covered everything. It looks to be only one question in the question and answer. I don't think I see anything in the chat box.
Awesome. This has been a wonderful opportunity to talk about Marsal. Brilliant company that's been around for 50 years. As I mentioned, Blodgett has owned it for 5 years. We love everything that the Ferrara family has done to bring us a quality product to be able to deliver to you, and we're so proud of it. So hopefully you take advantage of these special products that we have to offer, and our coupon that's in effect, and that you come and look for us on our social media pages. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Great. Great. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining our call, and thanks for all of our participants who continue to jump on daily and learn some products from the Middleby and Eaton family. So again, everybody have a great rest of your day, and join us for tomorrow for another daily special. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good day.